or shared. Okay, so yeah, thank you. So Mescal, please.
Sorry, I'm just getting settled. Yeah. So, where what I was gonna jump in and say, I think that we have a really great um, foundation set already with that. I don't know if we call it a wireframe or that thing where it goes through the different the onboarding process in the mural board, and it has all those arrows and the boxes. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you,
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a great start. Just finishing it, and there was a part at the very end there where we were asking questions, and I was thinking we needed to just go through that and answer any questions that we have. And there's already some great feedback on the app. Let's just answer those questions, improve the app, and um, have the app be the testing ground for new features and new ideas and how it works. I think that's already a great start. You've put plenty of work into that, and anybody else who wants to see things be developed can jump right in. Um, so
Yeah. I think that there's, yeah, thank you for that. Um, yeah, like the app is there, like there's already like a ton of improvements and edits and things to add to the app, just from the, what we've talked about now. I think, and that, okay, so there's a couple things here that I'm hearing. I mean, I think first of all, right, like if we take it off of, sort of just Rob's shoulders, there's like the app development is also, a bottleneck, right? Because there's, so there's, I think it's good to look at these bottlenecks or where, the app development is. So part of that is now trying to bring in other people like Mescal, like somebody like Jonas or someone else, to help with these app features. Um, right. In the last,
wasn't that the
couple,
intention for the last meeting? Was for us to like actually figure out what those tasks were by looking at that thing that we were
I think,
talking about.
yeah, I think
At least
that
that's
was
what I
started. I
understood from
think
our
that was
last
part of it.
circle.
I think yesterday's meeting, we're also sort of like we're looking at that. We're talking about that as far as like what, how yesterday's meeting was effective and how it wasn't, effective. And, I think maybe some of it was that it was pretty, we're trying to figure out this, you know, how to do this, collaborative developments, right? And is pretty broad. So I do think, yeah, so for me, I guess, this if there's a way to get people involved, who actually can, put their hands on the app. Um, even people who can write. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are ways to start getting people involved, in that. And then so that's one piece. The other, right, the other piece is how, where to get people involved, now who aren't working on it. I mean, I think Deborah, one thought that I actually had this morning when I was showering was like, it might be that people, who come in now, like this wasn't the way sort of like it worked with you, Deborah, and with, kind of like this last round, which is fair, but like maybe when people come in now, it's like, hey, come on in and like, join the app and start to participate that way. Start, and join the meetings and maybe not worry about like getting people into operations right away or just at least until they're, they're ready. I also think that, yeah, um, there's some like specificity and refinement in regards to, the like the onboarding and orientation process. I think there's a lot of that we talked to about yesterday. I think there's plenty of pieces, but maybe some of that is saying like is like okay, like this is how our process works now. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, and I definitely saw like there was so much there. It was on the board already. I guess the question that kept coming back to me was, well, why are these things still in more of a question mode at this point. Maybe it's just the way people are phrasing it. Maybe instead of making it like statements, because I'm hearing more questions, I'm thinking, well, hasn't this already been, noodled through to the point where it's not no longer as much of a question as it is now, more the logistic or tactical side of things. Obviously, like the big picture stuff has already kind of been decided upon, at least for your first iteration or, first iterations, you know. I'm just curious because that's what I was hearing. Like yesterday, I was like, well, even since I've been here, I feel like there's been a lot of discussion about this, and where is it still like so much of a question? So maybe I'm framing this more as a question. Again, this is feedback, but it's not criticism. It's just genuinely like, as I'm listening to these things, I'm like, okay, whether it's ops or not, because even in the community meetings, I'm still going to have similar questions, right? Like, oh, okay, so how's this working? And like, what's the process? And like, how can I help? It's still going to be the same. Nobody is coming into HSC to just sit there and take. We're all going to come in to try to contribute because that's why those are our values that make this appealing to us.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a way where there's there are ways where there's plenty of questions as far as like, okay, how do we want to, sort of what do we want to facilitate into the app, and what are we, like what is our culture and how are we building that? And I think there's lots of questions, and I think that there's also like only so like so many sort of features that can be kind of built out at one time. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a way to like how to make space for all of it. And maybe it's just sort of talking out again, once like where's the space for for like people to go and ask questions, and and sort of think about things and design stuff. And then where's the space for, okay, like let's now like these are the features we're working on. Let's like, get our plan. Let's, sort of go through the app. Maybe there needs to be spaces, for all of that. And, maybe we need to do what will be really helpful is to delineate more clearly what those spaces are and what the intentions are for those spaces. And then people can, join in where they feel drawn to. Yeah. Miss Gao. Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, we have these two meetings going right now, and I think that it would be helpful to have like a designated brainstorming session out of one of these meetings and like a designated working group, like co-working session. Because something that Christine had said originally to me was that she liked having sessions um, where people where she liked to be coming into a Zoom and co-working on something. And so that's what I think she was trying to set up with the last meeting. So I think that it would, if we just came with the intention, if all of us came with the intention of working through something one thing at a time, and we just kind of handle a project per week, we can make great progress on something.
Mhm.
And it's not like any one person has to have the responsibility to build out the inside the app, or have the responsibility of thinking through how does it work or whatever. It's just like that's what we're there to do. We come together, we work through some certain things that need to be agreed on collectively. Then asynchronously, we know what tasks we need to get done. Whoever can go in and do it does it, and it's done. You know?
Hmm.
Although I think that is not exactly what I would think of with a co-working session, because for me, a co-working session is we check in at the beginning, we say what we're planning on working on, or we decide what we're planning on working on, and then we have an hour of silence or 45 minutes of silence where we're in the Zoom together, but or maybe it's not silence, we have light music in the background or whatever, but we're actually working on the thing. And then we come back at the end and share what we actually accomplished, which is where people can I could see a 2 hour session working really well for that, where maybe the first half hour is just getting clear on what everyone's working on, and then everyone going off for an hour and then coming back and sharing, which would then mean that they wouldn't have to take extra time and other times of their week if they don't have it to execute on what was decided upon.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally get that, but I also think that we would probably need then a decision making session where we like make decisions because after hearing what you said, it made sense that what I'm talking about is very different from what you're talking about as far as like my understanding of a co-working session. And I definitely align with that. But what I was envisioning is for us to have like a decision making space as well. So I'm thinking like a brainstorming session, a co-working session, and like a decision making session where we're like, okay, so this is what we're trying to, um, what's the word? Uh, Not manifest, but this is what we're trying to
Co-create?
co-create. Yeah, this is what we're trying to produce this week. This is what we're trying to like have be. This is like our final intention is to have this be there to exist. So
Materialize or bring into form.
material, yes, materialize. Thank you. So this is what we're trying to materialize this week.
Mm.
That's, see, to me, the brainstorming session is exactly what that does. So I do brainstorming all the time
Okay.
with a friend of mine, and we're like, we start off like way over here with rainbows and unicorns, but by the end of the conversation, we are down to nuts and bolts. But it
Yeah.
takes us, like, we start and we're just like, I don't know, yeah, oh, this, oh, that. And then we're going back and forth off of each other's energy because we're both the same type, where she's express builder, I'm a classic builder. So we're bouncing ideas off of each other. And then eventually it gets very, very solid and clear. But at the beginning, it's fuzzy. Then at the end of that session, we know what we need to do. But then it's also hard for us because of the way we're wired to do it by ourselves. So it's good when we can come into a co-working session and say, this is what we discussed last week or yesterday, and now we're going to do it. And, this is what I'm hoping to get done in the next hour. And then we can come back and say, oh, yeah, that was really unrealistic expectations, or knocked it out, all done, or something else. Maybe we realized halfway through that that's not actually what needs to happen first. Whatever it is, we come check back in at the end, and then there's clarity as to what needs to happen to move forward. And it's really good for those of us, not all of us need this, but for those of us who need electromagnetic connections, basically, to be able to get things done. It helps to have that space where we're all in the same Zoom room, even if we're not necessarily talking through the whole thing.
For sure. I
Mm.
guess, well, the thing is, I'm not like diagnosed with anything because I don't do doctors, but I feel like I'm not trying to self-diagnose, but this ADHD where you're always not focused on something, I definitely have see similarities there. So the reason why I'm saying differences between like a brainstorming session and a decision making session is because I'm not trying to make a decision every time I brainstorm, and I feel like that has been a real
Okay,
hindrance
got it. Got
to
it.
some of the projects that I've been involved in. Is we have an idea and we act on it, and so by the time we have like the idea is like finished, like being like halfway through being materialized, we realize, well, if we had thought through this a little more, we would have started somewhere else. And so that's why I'm trying to be intentional about separating decision
Got it.
making from brainstorming. And it
Got it.
doesn't have to necessarily even always be the case. It can be that we have brainstorming sessions and sorry about that, guys. Um, we have a decision making space in the brainstorming session. Sometimes that can happen too. But I'm saying in general, have an intention of having the decision making be even a couple days later or the next day or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Um, yeah, thanks to you both. I mean, I'm jotting down some notes in the meeting notes document. But kind of like at least how I'm hearing this is what's coming through me, right? Is really something that could be that can be really beneficial and needed now is really defining, getting much more clear definition of like what the purpose is of each meeting, or if there's different parts of each meeting, what are we doing? What's the purpose? What are we, how are we coming together for, right? And is it brainstorming? Is it decision making? Is it, designing? And is it co-working? And even being clear about like what we mean, right? Because two people here already have different sort of definitions of co-working. Who knows, maybe three. But and right, so and that's yeah. So does that sound like what we're saying as far as, like this take, this takeaway piece? Yeah.
Well, I don't
Um,
necessarily think that it needs to be thought through like that, like on a one-off basis. I feel like it's something that like we're deciding as we're making decisions. Like I feel like we have to have like a priority setting space. And then once we set a priority, then we act like we decide, are we going to like move forward with it as the priority? If we are, what needs to happen? And, can we get it done this week? Like, I feel like if we have like a really agile and like collective thinking and deciding on things approach, then things will just move really fast and a lot of
Yeah,
stuff can get done.
agreed.
Like in a month you can have like a bunch of features built out just because every week you think, okay, well, we need to get like right now it's clear the priority is onboarding, so we've got part of the app built. We've got and the emails set up. We've got the website. It's being redesigned, but we already got a functioning website. So all of the elements for a good pot of soup are already there. We just need somebody to chef's kiss it and put it out there for people. So
okay.
that at least that's my take on it.
All right. So yeah, yeah. So I want to get clear. So what I'm hearing then, from you, what you're talking about there, Mescal, is the onboarding, right? Like, because that's
As the
something
first
that's something
project.
that's something that is decided upon. It's built, it's created. There are parts and pieces to it that are then assigned to people, right?
Well, the thing about assigning to people, I guess we can assign stuff to people, but I would want to like hear from more people. This is where like a group chat would be helpful for me.
Hmm.
Like because the if people say, yeah, I'm gonna do this, then it's easier to hold them accountable. And it can be done. And I think that maybe the Asana board might be a good place to keep track of that. But at the same time, I don't necessarily what I'm hesitant to limit is other people's capacity and willingness to support each other in doing stuff. Because if everybody gets assigned one thing to do, if they don't necessarily have the time for it, and actually if somebody else had started that piece, they would have been able to finish it really quick. Like I'm not saying I have like a plan for this or that I have like a method that I can tell everybody like this is how I'm suggesting we're doing it right now. Um, but I do believe that it's possible to have a list of tasks that we all know need to get done. And as long as we're in good communication with each other about who's about to do what, and we're like checking in with each other about stuff, I feel like we could co-create a system where we're just making progress on a bunch of different fronts as we have the time. If you ask me
Yes.
questions about something that's not making sense, maybe I can clarify.
No, I think it totally makes sense. Yeah, I think it's just like then put it. I think it's then putting that in place, right? I think
Yeah.
that is what we're trying to do. But I think yeah, it's putting that in place, and that's what I say. Like, if we use an example in onboarding process, right? Then there are all those pieces that go into it, which is like you're talking about, some of what you're saying there. I think is like what are the like the tasks or what I would call more like the roles, right? Because of what are the role because roles are something that people can switch in and out of, fluidly. Whereas, a task is something that more like one or multiple people are more like assigned, to it. It's a more distinct piece.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
uh
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Muscal. Go ahead.
Are you sure? Because I can wait.
Yes, no, go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying it might be helpful to get out a piece of paper and maybe we could write some stuff down if anything that's important to us that we want to act on. Otherwise we can just keep talking. That was the only thing I was gonna say.
Well, so that's kind of related. Right Use of Power Institute just moved fully into sociocratic model. And I asked their director, whose name is slipping me at the moment, it'll come later, Amanda. Amanda? Yeah, I think it's Amanda. I asked her, I said, how do you guys make decisions? Because to me, in horizontal structures, this is the hardest thing is decision making, clear, consensual, nobody's, feeling, somehow scarred for life. Decision making. How do we do this? And she said, whenever they have a meeting, a circle has a meeting, they come up with some proposals. They post the proposal and they announce it to the community and they give the community a week to express dissent. If they haven't expressed dissent within a week, then it's assumed that everyone's consented and they move forward. So that they don't have this thing where it's like this constant wheel of going back and forth on a topic for weeks or months or years. So I think since Rob is super flexible and the very HSC is very horizontal, I feel that's very strongly horizontal, then at least let's have something like that in place where we make like the three of us are talking now. Okay, some people miss it, but they can catch the recording if it's being recorded, and or we can just give them the highlights in a short paragraph, a few bullet points, and say these are the things we are proposing. Do you have any questions? Ask one of us or ask Rob. And here's, if you do not dissent to this, come December 15th, this is now going to be, or whatever it is, December 20th, this will now be our way of moving forward. And everyone will get used to it as we move forward. And I think that would help. And exactly what Mescal was saying is what I was seeing is that we can very quickly then start to just say, okay, whoever's here today, who wants to do this? Okay, I want to do it. This is what I have found, especially with HSC. Not every field do I have this with, but in this particular field, I have found that I'll be like, yes, I'll do this. And then I go and sleep on it. And the next day, the next day, I'm having second thoughts, hesitations, other things have come in because I'm an emotional authority. So so that doesn't always happen, but it tends to happen in these kinds of settings. So I might be the one who proposed something and then dissent to the thing I proposed. It's happened before. But it gives me the freedom to do that too. It's okay for me to change my mind because for those of us who are emotional authorities or have integration circuit defined, we need time to sleep on things to be really sure. So we may say initially, that sounds like a great idea, but let me sit with it for a few days before I fully commit to it because I might not actually have the energy for that in this moment, even though I love the idea. So there's a difference between loving the idea mentally and emotionally from that standpoint, and then having the actual energy and capacity to fulfill whatever the commitment is. So I think something like that, I'm going to shut up now, but I just think something like that would be very helpful for just getting traction going. Last thing, and then I'll be quiet, is because HSC is like our baby. And a mom, when the baby needs to go or the child needs to go to school, the mom needs to make sure that the child has everything they need to go to school. She's not going to like just kind of leave the child there. And the impact that HSC can have on all these people is kind of not going to be there if we don't nudge it forward and give it what it needs to keep moving and building momentum. All right, I'm done.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and so, to say like what, yeah, I mean, we went through a process and really sort of deciding on sociocracy as like the way that we will go, we're going to go about, coordinating and making decisions. Um, right. And it's hard to, it's been, difficult to implement because not because we don't want to, but, even implementing that in and of itself, right? In circles and roles, that takes time, and so we've been saying, okay, well, how do we, like, how do we implement that and also like sort of like push forward at least these like minimum like the minimum viable app and the minimum viable whatever. So with all that, right, that doesn't, we're here where we are today. So it's something we talked about a lot and haven't really done. And maybe that now that there's more people coming in, enough people are coming and sort of sticking around. um, maybe that's something that we can start to like do, try and incorporate now, which in a sense, like you talked about, especially at our level of where we're at and the number of people here can be fairly simple, right? It's just like whoever has a proposal for something, write up the proposal and bring it to the group. Um, and then, right, then we say, okay, we've agreed upon that. Then, of course, it's like, all right, how are we actually coordinating it? Who's doing what? Which is, a whole other thing. Um, yeah, yeah, Mescal. Hi, Basilica. We'll say hi to you in a moment, but we're in a little discussion here. Yeah, yeah, Mescal, please.
Yeah. All I was gonna say is if I could get a copy of the meeting, then the recording that we made, then I would be happy to put a proposal in and just kind of um and think through my suggestion around, kind of creating an approach to, you know, accomplishing stuff and and getting support for everybody. And excuse me, baby, let me finish. Go to the car, baby. 1 second. I'll be right there. Hold on. Okay. And so I'm happy to put together a proposal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Thank you. A proposal for what?
A proposal for the process that I was suggesting. Can you hear me? Is it too loud in the background?
No, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, a proposal for the process that I was suggesting. And that way I can spend some time thinking about like how I would suggest that we can implement it. Like the idea that people like basically we agree, and I like this. If it's all good to you, Deborah, just riff off of your what you brought in about the Sustainable Institute. You said I would happily credit them and just put that the suggestion that we have the consent based if
Hmm.
there's dissent, spend a week with the decision, and then we come back and then we have a meeting about what needs to get done, and then we have a meeting about how we're going to do it, and then we have a meeting or at that point we should know who's going to do what, and we have a set time of getting it done. And if somebody starts something and they're like, yo, I got to this point with it and I'm like against the wall, I don't know what to do, then somebody else can use that communication to be like, oh, yeah, I can help. I can do this. I can come, we can set a time or whatever. And yeah, I feel like those kind of things for actually development might help us proceed with a little more agility.
Yeah, and also, can you also bring in that thing about the brainstorming, uh, co-working, and decision making? Because I think you were really clear on that. So if you have something, if you want to
For
also
sure.
include that as a maybe separate or the same proposal, I don't know.
That would make sense.
Great. Okay, so you're talking about like the proposal of like how what we're talking about here, the proposal of how we're, how people can go about, proposing different, actions or, initiatives, and then, and how, what the process is for the group, like deciding on that.
Yeah, just the getting the for making a proposal for the decision making for the governance um for the practice of governing the space. Um and then that governing conversation will also in the proposal for how to govern, based off of this conversation we've just had, there would also be a way for us to approach the work, and it would just be, basically, based off of this conversation, and it would be able to be changed at any point. But it's just for us to be able to move forward with, so that everybody comes to a meeting and we're clear why we're here and what we're going to do with our time while we're here.
Great. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Basilica. Thanks for jumping in. We didn't really have check-ins. Like we just sort of jumped right into it, but that's okay. Sometimes that's not, like, we've been working together anyways, and right in meetings, yesterday. So, I think what we jumped into, just to kind of catch you up a little bit, is really just talking about, what is HSC's process? How are we moving forward? And I think, you all, this is how I'm sort of like framing it, but I think, what we're talking about here is also like how to, now that, like how to get people involved, and do that in, um, more, kind of like more specific ways, right? So, how to move forward, how to decide, what we're doing, how to get people involved, and, being, sort of being in that process, as well, where some of, where it's also moving some of that, to other folks, and like that understanding that in some ways there's been, this bottleneck, of myself, right? Things coming through me, whatever limited, time and resources that I have. And so starting to, to move that out. Also starting to I think it's important to say where we're not only how, like how we're making decisions, who's making decisions, but also like what places are, like are we providing, and being, clear on that. So where are the spaces that, are for, you know, brainstorming and playing in sandboxes and, designing things, and where are the places for more, like decision making, and where are the places for more kind of just, like group, project management, co-working. Um, yeah, does that sound like what we're talking about? Yeah.
So, thank you, Rob, for explaining me a little bit where you are as a conversation. I'm sorry I cannot make the entire meeting. I just jumped in to have uh, a touch with what is going on in this meeting, because I was in the Tuesday meeting a week ago, and I was very like curious how the app is going and how it's developing. And I was also like want to know what is going on in this kind of meetings, and to see how can I get involved. Unfortunately, today I don't have so much time. I just wanted to like touch base to see what is going on, and to connect a little bit. And to express also the fact that I'm connected with the project, and yeah, I will try it. I will continue to try the app. Will help me to have the link, by the way, because from the website, if I'm a member, I don't know how to get in. This is like um, so that will be something that I need. And in terms of the communication or the frame, like how to manage the community, or how to handle all this like decision making, who is involved, who does what, and all the stuff. I think that is like a lot of space to try different ideas, and yeah, I'm open to hear what are the proposals, because I'm exploring a lot also by myself, in these terms, in this topic. So I'm very curious. Just to let you know, I will have like another maybe 10-15 minutes just to not to disappear because I need to run somewhere. But I just wanted to say hi. So thank you for allowing me to be here a little bit. Okay, I received the link. Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Vasilika. Yeah, great to have have you jump in and have your voice heard, and thank you for I'm absolutely hearing your connection to this project, and your offering to be be a part of it and part of a participant. So I love it. That's great. So in the chat I put the link to the app.
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's where you go. And actually, I very recently I took off I took off some of the kind of like the initial approval parts of it. So it should be it should be really easy for everybody here to get on, because you're already logged in and signed up users. But for new people to get on, at least at this point, it's really it's pretty streamlined. They just sort of like go and sign their email and then do the initial profile. So I actually think that's going to be fine. So we don't want to share like the app link like with everybody in the world, because it's a little more streamlined and easier to sign up and get in, which I think is fine for now. I don't think we're going to have some huge rush of random people coming in. And if we do, great. So I think for the question then is moving forward with this meeting, I think that Mescal and Deborah, like we could kind of continue forward and see if there's any, like talk maybe more specifics about like the onboarding process. That's one big thing I'm hearing, or also specifically about like some features and how we start to build that. So those are two options. Or also, and maybe while Vasilika is here, I did have the idea of us doing like a little mini, not a big one, but a little mini sort of needs and offerings session, because all of us are in the app, and I thought it might be a nice time to have each of us kind of like work on or explore, like a need or an offering, and then put it into the app, right? And so that way we're starting to fill out, the app with our needs and offerings. So to me, those are kind of like two choices where we could jump to right now. Maybe
I missed the first option.
the first option was kind of to continue forward with more of like the operations piece that we had been talking about, getting more specific.
Well, I'm more interested in the operations. I would prefer to like basically like even look at what has been done with the onboarding so far. Because I feel like the experience that we're inviting people into, it would be helpful to have that finished, thought through. And then we can sort of experience it for ourselves. But I think that there's still some orientation that's needed as far as like how we function, and we should finish that.
Got it. All right, cool. Deborah, do you have a preference or a vote? Mescal just proposed that we continue forward with the operations and looking at onboarding. So now is there consent to that? We'll just, all right, Ms. Gauss, be right back. Deborah, it sounds like you're consenting because you're not on, you probably jumped off the meeting.
That can be a rule, you know, like if you don't say anything, that means that you agree. So
Yeah, that's consent. Although, yeah, I'm big on active consent. But anyways, I get what you're saying.
yeah, joking.
Yeah, great. That sounds fine to me. Basilica, sounds like you're kind of open with your, with the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of operations, like, can we be more specific? What do you want to like analyze or?
Yeah. Let's look at that. I can be very, 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 very specific. So actually, it looks like this might be the time for like a bio break. I think it is for me too. So I'm going to I'm going to share my screen. And just so that way you can see, this is like currently what we have planned for for outreach and onboarding as far as the member flow. This was done probably a couple months ago, but it's still pretty relevant. I'm going to be back in 2 minutes. I'm just going to take a very quick bio break here.
Okay, so Mescal, you are back. I'm sorry, you are still on mute. I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was saying my phone is still slow loading. I can't see anybody.
We see you and we can hear you a little bit.
She's gone now.
Yeah.
Did Rob step away for a minute?
Yeah, I just had need a physical break, I think.
Yeah, me too. I had to run away to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Where are you located, Basilica?
Sorry?
Where are you in the world?
Well, I'm in the world. I'm in Costa Rica right now.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I'm from Romania, but I live here in Costa Rica for the last 4 years and a half, almost 5.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is my base right now. Where are you?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. Wow. Yeah.
In the United States.
Yeah. And Mescal, where are you based?
I am in Jamaica right now.
Jamaica, so nice. Amazing.
Yeah.
Where are you?
And as you know, I'm in Massachusetts, but I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, where Deborah lives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's that connection.
Where are you based, Basilica?
I'm based in Costa Rica. Saying earlier.
Okay.
So we are in the area. At least we are somehow in this Central America, or not?
Yeah. We're neighbors.
Somehow, yeah, exactly. At least we are closer than with others, you know.
Yeah, you're practically neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, if we want to jump back in, like, this was can also I can put this link to this board. It's a different one than the app development board, but I put the link to this in the chat. But basically, this is how we started to think about like the onboarding process, really, but it's like outreach and onboarding, right? So like, everything in this outreach sort of area is when people are hearing about HSC, but they're not like a member yet. And then the onboarding is once they say, yeah, I want to be a member, and I want to say, right, because this is something for us to be thinking about, want to be, clear that the plan really has been for holistic systems to be like a membership, a member-based community, which means that like, you have to be, approved. And we've been talking about like there's this, monthly membership, deposit, or fee into the pool. It's a resource pool. So basically, anybody who comes in, we're saying, okay, well, you're joining this resource pool. So, I think part of what we're talking about here is when do we really start to make that delineation between like who's an active member and who's, more of like what I'm calling like a community member. Um, and which is just somebody who's interested, but they're not, like an active member in the app. Um, So I think that's a piece that I just want to bring in with just the kind of process itself. So, um, you know, th that then there's just kind of like what we're talking about, now, which is like, where do people have meetings? What do they have to do before like they join the app, and then once they join, where, like what is kind of required of them. Yeah. And so this is kind of like this map, and then right then the development part here, right, is really like once somebody jumps into the app, then what happens, right? So maybe there wants to be some combining of these boards or whatnot, but this is like somebody jumps into the app, what happens? Okay, they've filled out the initial intake form, they have a profile. Okay, so what is where do they have onboarding meetings? Do they have orientations, things like that. So I'll stop there because I want to hear what folks say just from that little brief introduction, because there's a lot of different factors in here. And also, right, is if we're talking about being clear of what we're trying to accomplish, I think, and tell me if you disagree, like Mescal or Deborah Basilica, I think what we're trying to do now is sort of talk about what is the onboarding process, like what is it now in present time, what's required for it, and then I guess maybe we could also say what is it going to look like 3 months from now. That's one idea, but I think the basic thing is like, what is our onboarding process? Yeah. So Mescal, how does that mesh with what you're thinking about?
Well, yeah, all of this makes sense. I'm wondering what the features are in the app that can help facilitate this process, or if it's just kind of the way that it's happening is well, I'm just thinking about how does it happen, because my experience with it was really smooth. I just, set up a thing. But, if you were doing that in the app, what does that look like versus using the website?
Yeah. Like what is it? I mean, I can show you what it looks like in the app. It's fairly smooth now.
Yeah, let's see it. I mean, if we're going to get into that conversation in order to figure out what next steps are needed, but I'm
Sure.
also want to be mindful of time, because how long do we have for this
Well,
meeting?
yeah. Well, I actually, this is something that we decided upon, but keep like sort of forgetting to tell people. But I mean, what we decided upon actually was that the HSC meetings are 90 minutes. So I know that you usually go 2 hours, but we thought that, just to say that they're 90-minute meetings with an optional half hour like co-working session at the back end, right? Meaning that like we're saying, hey, the meeting is 90 minutes, but if people want to, stay for an extra half hour and like co-work, just randomly co-work on whatever they want, or keep sort of co-working, on HSC stuff, that we can do that. Um, but it
That's
just sort of
cool. I
hasn't gotten
definitely
implemented.
never.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen that even. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I've never seen or heard that. So it might be even something to consider including in the recording materials is like that the meetings, how the meetings work, and the fact
Yeah.
that you can like that's an opportunity to do like to start, building with the community, just as a side note. But yeah, that sounds good. If that's the case, then at the time that we're at now, we have enough time to start to just talk through this process. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll be here, until the top of the hour. All right. Well, let's just, it won't take me very long to run through, um, what it looks like right now from the app, as I cleaned it up. So I'm just gonna make sure that this person, I actually ran through a test this morning, so I only have so many active emails, so I'm just gonna delete the one that I just did. All right.
Just no, no, no. Just no, 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 baby. Mm.
All right, let me make sure that this is fully deleted. So basically, I just kind of took away there was this welcome page. Um, hmm, my thing is not deleting. All right, I'll just use a different email. What other emails do I have? Okay,
I
I'll use this
I can
one.
give you one of mine if you want to use.
That's okay. I've got another one. All right. So I took away again for this can change and get more complicated, but for now, it just made it easy. This is just the sign in or sign up page, right? So I'm a person, Rob Hurwich at yahoo.com. So I'm a new person. I don't have an account yet. All right, continue. It's gonna send me the pin. Takes a little longer to my Yahoo because it's going through my personal email client. Sometimes it doesn't want to be fast.
Guys, I have to go. Sorry to jump in and out so randomly, but I just wanted to see you and connect a little bit. And Rob, looking forward to still receive the updates on weekly emails. And yeah, I will try to put some like to continue to test the app, and I will maybe like next time when I will come to one of the meetings, I will give you more feedbacks.
Great.
So we stay in touch.
All right. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Basilica. Great to see you.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
You
Thank you.
too.
Ciao. Bye.
Ciao. Okay, so all right, so I get the pin, sign in. That's it. And then it just takes me to actually I thought there was like a little welcome. I don't know. I've got to look at that now. That's good. A little there should be like a little welcome screen. And so it's also going to force me to fill out the intake form before I can actually enter the app. So part of what we need to do, even if I go to view my profile, it won't let me do that, which is how I designed it. So it says, okay, let's start your journey. So part of what we, decide is what do we want on this initial intake form? What do we want them to fill out here? And what do we want to just leave and let them fill out, in the app? Because I don't know that we need to have them fill out everything here. All right. So, test, Hurwich test,
Well, this
profile
stuff
name,
seems useful.
location, the interweb, phone number. All right. We want to make that optional. I'll just skip it now so we go through this quickly. Professional title, tester, bio, I test, profile image. Let's just know what this is. Oh, this is Deborah's post. Okay, so then, yeah, part of what we talked about is like, really like putting a thing in here, like what are collaborative intentions? What do we mean? Also, maybe combining some of these, but anyways, a person, go through, we could even have a little description underneath each, whatever we want to do. All right, so a person's going to add, they can say, oh no, I don't want that one, that one. All right, continue. Step 4 of 4 shows their information. They consent. They can go back, if they like and change things. Continue. They can reset the whole thing. I won't do it. They read that. If they try and submit this without hitting the little checkbox, an error message will come up. You must consent. And then, gosh darn it, why is this doing this? No, I fixed this. I swear to, it totally worked this morning. Probably because my email was already in here or something. All right, so this worked this morning. Gosh darn it. So anyways, there's some bug here where when I click this, the thing goes away. So we're stuck there. But that's basically it. And then oh, I know why. I know why. Because sorry. All right, let me try this again. Let me make sure. It's when I screw around with things that. Oh, it should. Oh, probably because there's still a thing out. All right, forget it. Um, all right, I'm not going to sort of worry about um, but that's the onboarding process, Mescal. And then somebody comes in, um, and then I'll show you like what it looks like. Okay, so then that's it. So once they onboard, then they come here, and this, Mescal, you're a member, so you should be able to come in here and see all of this. So they come, at least now that's how it works. They come to the home page. They can, browse around. They can add needs and offerings, um, and then they can go view their profile. This one is a little filled out. There might be this. This is that new member, right? So
I have a question.
yeah.
Everyone else's name is first name, last name, but mine is the username. And I'm not like it doesn't feel like I would have put a username for my first and last name. So I'm wondering why that is. You see how everyone else has
Yeah.
got
It's something called the display name, right? So in your profile,
oh,
this is how, Todd set it up, and I think for a reason, maybe just for, so you have your first and last name,
Maybe
but then you
privacy.
have your um your display name. Oh yeah, your profile name. And I
okay.
think, yeah, so you basically like, so a person could choose to have a, so I think the idea there is like we want people's like real first and last name, but if somebody wants to make their profile name the real Deborah A or something, then they can do that. So you can go in and just edit that and edit your profile.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, so not to get, too in the weeds on the app, Mescal, did that help sort of
Yeah,
answer?
that helps a lot. And so this last box here, what is this? Based on the choices of collaborative intentions, this happens. What's the next step in the app based on the new member is interested in pursuing? So this is a great question that I would love to brainstorm through before we close out, and then come up with some next steps from there. Besides, well, I guess I have the proposal that I'm working on, so but I would like to answer this question or at least discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know, like, and so the question here is like, when does somebody actually enter the app? Like how much info would they have received? How many, how would they have been on a call, right? Like when somebody goes through that process that we just saw, like when is that, and how orientated and onboarded are they? And then what are the next steps, for orientating and onboarding them, right? And then what you're talking to now, which we can speak to, is, is like people, these collaborative intentions, um, right? Like essentially the collaborative intentions is basically asking people how do they want to participate in the community? Why are they here? What do they want to get out of it? So if they've given us that as a base piece of information, right, then we're saying, okay, well, what do we do with it as far as like the app and as far as just general onboarding? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Scott.
I definitely have an idea. Um, so I'm gonna start. I have a couple of things that I want to say. I'm gonna start by saying that I feel like how it is already on the mural board and the other mural board that you just showed. This whole thing, by the way, it would be really helpful for this part of your mural board, of this mural board, to go on the other mural board, at least for me. And so this right here, where it goes from the one-on-one intro chat to the fill out new mem form and the intake in the app, that seems like a perfect flow. I really like that because it's just asks all the questions we want to know about new members. And then in the community meeting, I think the community meetings should have like an open agenda. And like instead of setting the agenda meetings at the beginning, it would make sense to me to take the information like of their collaborative intentions and find a way for them to identify, they would have to be prompted to come to the meeting with, some collaborative intentions, more specified, I would suggest,
Mm,
um, like you've been given a list of potential collaborative intention or of intentions, and then the intentions should be, you're asked, okay, thanks for these intentions. We want to engage you around them, now, what do you need? And I definitely heard Deborah about um, how there's often some misalignment between what people need and like what's actually available in the space. But if people are saying their offers and needs, they're just stating that out the gate, and then they're also turning around and saying, they're coming to a space where we're talking about it. Maybe it's like a kind of offers and needs market that we do. I'm not sure, but I would see the community meeting space versus even the operations space to be a space where people come to like brainstorm or pitch activities or to perform activities, that reinforce the culture.
mm, hmm. Um, yeah. I mean, I've always had it like for the community meetings, I've always had as like an idea, you know, is to actually be engaging in, which I think is some of what you're talking about, or a lot of what you're talking about, which is engaging in like these kind of like community, like these member activities, right? Which is, that we're saying we want to do, which is like, hey, let's like everybody go over our needs and offerings together, let's connect on that. Hey, let's like, everybody present one of their, vouchers. Let's everybody like go and add their contributions from the past, week or something like that. So those are kind of more standard pieces, but I think that you're talking about something even in addition, Mescal, which is like this kind of open agenda. Um, yeah, Deborah, please.
Well, I see. I don't know. I don't think because if we let's say we're doing this offers and needs market on a monthly basis, I don't see. Oh, she dropped off. I don't see a need for like another review of offers and needs. But what I
Hmm.
could see is like from the offers and needs market, we could give a super quick update and just say like we were able to have, 15 people at the last offers and needs market, and there were, 38 connections made, and would love to see, and people can like enter, yeah, like when they complete a connection, like when the need is met, when the offer is, is delivered, that there's a way that they can like report that so that we can harvest the story of what they did, how they made that connection, but then also maybe there's like a monthly drawing for a prize that I think should be more fun than just meeting with us, but something
Hmm.
fun that they like, right? Um, but anyway, my point, I'm joking, but I'm just saying my point is that the offers and needs market is really self-contained and the profile is there. But there's two things that came to mind. One is the member, was it the handbook or what did you call it yesterday? There was the one that was onboarding before they got in, and then there was the one,
Yeah,
yes, the
there's
member
the
packet.
yeah.
So maybe like each week there's like 5 minutes dedicated to one item on in that member packet. So people can, it'll just keep bringing their attention back to it, like in case they didn't read it, they
Mm.
missed something. Um, Another thing I was thinking was in that I think works really well is in the Commons Fund. Each week that we have, well, we have it biweekly, but each meeting we have one project lead present their project. So they have a 10-minute slot, and most of them use slides, but I think a couple have not. And they
Hmm.
just talk about like, this is our project, this is what we're working on, this is what the need is, this is who we're serving, blah, 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 blah. If each member was like, and so it's like a rotate, like it's an ongoing list. So let's say that, you know, Jack was slotted to do it this week, but he's sick. After Jack is Susie. So Susie now presents, so then Jack might present next week when he's back, right? So it's just like a list of people where people know ahead of time, oh, next time you're going to present your project. What we could do with that, like let's say we give each once a week, we have a 5 or 10, I'd say 10 minutes is probably a safe amount for someone to come and present what they can present, what they're there for, like hi, I'm Deborah, I'm from Phoenix, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm a holistic leadership mentor. These are the kinds of projects I've worked on. I joined HSC because I'm really excited to get to meet, it's an intro, but it's like it's a spotlight on them for a few minutes so that when they're coming in, people are really actually getting the intro for that person, which is a little different from a check-in, where a check-in might have some of that info, but is kind of more casual and it can be very different. Like just giving them that spotlight for 5 to 10 minutes, where and what I liked about the how we do it in the Commons Fund is afterwards they also leave another 5 minutes for questions. So like after
Mm.
people share their project, people can then ask them some questions about like, oh, well, have you had this issue? How did you get that happening? And so it gets the dialogue going. And then from those presentations, that's where a lot of us are reaching out to each other. Because after we've learned about the project, we're like, oh, that is so cool. Let's talk.
Yeah.
I have this idea. Maybe you can help me with that. So those things are starting to happen again because we get to know each other. So like that, like 5 minute or 10 minute intro and 5 minute questions to that person. And of course, if they're shy and they don't want to do it, they don't have to, but it's just, I think it's a great way to, again, build that sense of community and build that sense of warmth without it doesn't have to take a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that's great. Um, yeah. And I think that right, like I think these are all like great ideas and things that we can do with the community meeting. I think that these sort of build upon some of the ideas that are out there. Which actually, I mean, it's on, another board, but actually there's a section in one of the boards where, there's all like these different ideas for like you know, what the formats could be for like the meetings, especially the community meetings. There's a ton of ideas. So, some of what occurred to me or what popped in, right? Some of this is like it's like there's a lot of this information that's already out there. I still think some of what we're lacking at HSC is like a project manager, honestly. In addition to me, like I fulfill that role, and I can, but I'm not able to, like it's I'm not able to, sort of a lot of times fulfill it in the way that it, needs to be fulfilled. Because I think that we're talking about a lot of ideas, right? And making even like this idea of like making proposals, and then voting or consenting, is a great way to streamline things. But at the end of the day, like implementation requires, resources and it requires coordination. Um, so I'm just going to name that because I think that's a piece that's just here and is another reason for um, some of the bottlenecking.
Understood.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I'm always happy to contribute, but what I know there's things that I need for myself to be able to contribute that I don't know necessarily that I can ask of HSC or the people here, because I don't want to, overstep. It's like I just noticed now, like you were taking notes. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. No one was taking notes. I was taking some handwritten notes. I did write quite a few things down, but yeah, there's like that role of secretary, and facilitator. And right now with three people, that doesn't really sort of make sense. But when there's, five, six people, it starts to become a thing where it's like, oh, there needs to be a way to document this. And you've been doing all of this on your own shoulders. So I feel like you're getting the short end of both butts because you have all the ideas of all these people, but not necessarily the coordination of all the efforts so that all the ideas get organized and the ones that make sense start to get implemented on. So you still have the workload of one guy, solopreneur, but you have more ideas. Whereas if it was just your ideas, you probably would have had more done already because you would have less to handle to process. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm open to us, you know, picking roles and just moving forward. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I didn't want it like for me coming in as a newcomer knowing you and Christine and even Mescal have been doing this a lot longer. I didn't want to be stepping on anybody's toes.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
think a role is it would be the next step, assigning roles into saying, okay, right now this role looks like this. Hopefully there'll be more people and there'll be less for you to do, but now this kind of looks like this so that yeah, it isn't all on you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we are getting to the point where we just need to like start creating some of these roles, and right, and that takes time too, is to create, the role because with each role comes like what is the purpose, what are the accountabilities, and right, and just to name, I wasn't, I don't know if just to be clear, I was not saying like, oh, well, that means, like you should be a project manager or something like that, it's, I think like that was not it. Like I actually think I think that it's like that is a skill set, right? I think being a project manager is a skill set, right? And um, I don't expect everybody to have that or to want that. It's a little bit of a grind, that role. Um, and I don't mind doing it, but it's not like, oh, I love it.
But it's easier to do when you have
There's
people that have specific like commitments to
Yeah.
time and resources. Right now, if you don't have that, it's kind of hard to man. What are you managing? You're managing a constantly evolving and dynamic and not clear, resource pool because you don't know how much time people have. Like even me, I was like, yeah, I'll do these things. And then I got pulled into so many other things. I just didn't have the capacity for a few weeks to do anything. So and that's going to be everybody. We're going to have highs and lows, ebbs and flows. So I think
Yeah,
that's what makes being
me too.
a project manager hard is in this kind of situation is if people were like, for sure, Monday and Wednesday, 2 hours of my time is dedicated to this from 3 to 5, you know, then it would be easier to be the project manager because then you could say, great, and move
Yeah.
forward, but you don't really have that.
Yeah, it'd be easier, but I don't know that it's required. I think a project manager is a, that role is like the person who's holding this thing, that's the implementation of an idea, right? So it's an agreed upon idea, initiative, and then that person is holding the implementation of that. So then that person is like, okay, what do we, like they're thinking about what do we need to get this done? What are the resources, including people, right? And then they're coordinating that, right? So it doesn't, so a project manager, part of what they do is they stay on people. They're like, hey, where's this? Is this, this thing what's your timeline for this? When is this due? Like a lot of project managers like checking in with people, and especially in, places where it's not like, oh, this is somebody's job and they get a salary, it's like you got to like really, you got to bother people. Um, Maybe I should check in with them. There's a Surabi, who's like one of the first ever HSC members. Like she's a professional project manager, right? And she's amazing. And she'll just like she will just like has bother everybody, And I say the word bother. I mean, but it's not, that's just my little term for it. But it's actually just like checking in with people and like seeing where are you at? What's like doing a job? There's something. So, anyways, it's something I have to remind myself of as well, which is yeah, which is like what are the, like being mindful of what the resources are for the implementation of all of this.
I
So
mean, I guess
anyways, but that I think that the reason I mentioned that also is to say like, well, why can't that be something that we're looking out for,
what do you
Like
mean?
why can't meaning like, okay, well maybe we as a group sort of put it on our radar. Well, is there a person who wants to get involved with HSC who has these project management skills, who is open and willing to utilize them, in this kind of coordination fashion? Because it's not that like other folks aren't aren't doing that. Like, and Christine is trying, but like people have, like it's a skill set, and you have to really like be like make it your mission, to like be like, okay, how like yeah. So I went off on that a little bit, but I think to come back, thank you. Um, yeah. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or if should we can come back to like the we were at the meetings.
I think yes, it is a skill set, but I don't necessarily think it's a big deal if someone's willing to do it. Like I don't think it's like complicated. I just think it's just someone being willing to do it.
Yeah, they have to be willing to do it. They have to be like really like willing to be like be in that role and like really take it on. Yeah. I mean, I think there is a skill set there. I'm not saying that
For
like
sure. No, 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 for sure. Once it gets larger, but I think for just the pool of resources that we have now, it's not that many people, right? So it's like, what is it, like 6 or 7 people? Like there's
hmm
Carlos, Saya, you, Mescal, me, and Christine. And that seems to be it right now until Todd comes back. Is there anybody else that's like kind of really in this stuff?
Um, not, not, yeah, not, no, I think that's a good list. You know, there might be other people coming in or, you know, but like, yeah, it's a good list. So, um, yeah, yeah.
Because it's like
The,
like a solopreneur, like you do it until you can hire someone else to do it for you, right? Like at the beginning, you're doing all the jobs, and then you're gradually letting go of some when you get to the point where you have the resources to pay someone to do some more. I feel like it's the same here. Like we're doing like or you're doing all the jobs, but now it's like, okay, can we hand a few of them over to other people so it can go faster now that there's a few more people? But still, most of us will be wearing multiple hats for a while
right.
until there's enough people to fill each role.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm just naming that one of those hats, you know, is like a project manager hat,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, and so how to, right, like how to hand that off, you know, to someone else. And I think even more importantly, who to hand that off to. Yeah.
And just to kind of recap on the onboarding is it sounds like the value exchange and the offers and needs markets are I don't know if it's value exchange or commitment pooling. Which one is it that you all were using?
Um, yeah, the commitment pooling is like the vouchers, right? So there's really like you know, there's sort of three main pieces: the needs and offerings, you know, the like internal contributions, you know, and sort of logging those internal tokens for when people contribute and participate, and then the commitment pooling, which is you know, which is the vouchers, which is the more sort of formalized, um, you know, non-monetary exchange.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so maybe that's like your starting point for like the roles of like the content piece. Like, okay, who's handling, like, I'm assuming that I'll be the person for now handling the offers and needs stuff. And then there's like, okay, then there's the tokens thing and then there's the vouchers thing, right? Like, those are three things that are like more like customer facing or more community facing. But then there's in like, as you said, internally, there's like the project manager, there's also like the facilitator, maybe even a secretary. Even if those roles are rotating, still there's specific roles, right? Like you're when you put on that hat, you're doing a specific thing. And whether, for each meeting, so whether it's the same person for each meeting or it's a different person for each meeting, there's a specific role that we're having that's called the facilitator role. And there's the role of the secretary who's writing down everything, the notes and stuff, and organizing that for that meeting, and maybe even like also the recording. Right now you're doing all of that, but like ideally if you could just come show up and do your piece and then go back to whatever you're doing, which is the app or whatever piece you're doing, then that will also free up a lot of capacity for you and feel more balanced, right?
Hmm.
So naming the project manager, facilitator, secretary, and then these three tokens, um, voucher, and offers and needs markets, which probably all go under the member experience. I don't know, but that's kind of what I would say is coming up for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, so then each of these roles then needs to be, you know, needs to be like written out.
Hmm. I can volunteer to write it out. That one feels like I can do that and give you, and it just be like a couple sentences per role, and then you can change it as you like. But there's something for you to respond to is going to be easier for your energy than.
Yeah. Well, I have a fr I mean, there's a definite role like template framework, you know, we have.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because there's we went this was back in the day, went sort of like nuts with the roles. Um I can share this with you. Let me see. Um No, that's not it. So it must be this. Oh yeah, this is I'm going to share this with you. You'll certainly be able to see. Okay, so wait, what's your email again for sharing Google Docs?
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, here I've got it. Deborah
Mm-hmm.
atgvc@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is if there's a filled out full agency of like people with all these with every role in the world, like this has it. So you don't have to go through all of these, but it's just like kind of shows a template, basic kind of template, which is basically, yeah, purpose, accountabilities, domains if it has any, and short description. Um, yeah. So so part of this, so I want to, right? So then the project manager in me is wants to sort of take away what we're what we're what are the action steps? What are we kind of talking about here for this from this meeting? Um,
Well, Mescal already took some. She took the one about the three types of meetings, the brainstorming, decision making, and co-working um,
yeah,
sessions, and also her ideas around a smooth process for decision making, so as to be able and for working through one small project at a time to kind of build momentum and getting things moving and getting things moving forward.
yeah,
Um, I'm volunteering because I'm not sure about these roles specifically yet, but I am volunteering to just give a quick, very short 2 to 3 sentence paragraph on the 6 possible roles that we identified today of project manager, facilitator, secretary, and then the three, value exchange, commitment pooling, and offers and needs markets. Um, and where they would go in that original circle diagram that you gave me a while back. You
yeah,
shared that with me. I'm happy to do that because that won't take long. And if it helps, cool. Because again, I think this is the challenge with the line one that HSC has and that you have as well, is that it's so deep in research and loves to do that, but that's not the same as presenting. So if you present all your research, unless it's another person who's just as passionate about that same exact topic as you are, it's going to overwhelm them. So like the document that you just shared with me is like is perfect, but it's like 44 pages. Like no one's going to read. That's a lot to go through, but we can just put it into one page, just a few things that we need right now, and then we can build. It's like
yeah. And like
it's
I
this
said, that
idea of
document
like,
is not. It's just because I don't have like a template document written up. Yeah,
so that's what I would do is I would just on one page just put a short paragraph for each of these 6 roles that we talked about and where they would go in the circle diagram. I'm volunteering to do that. That's not an issue for me. I'm also volunteering to write down my suggestions around um, you know, the what I just got from, Right Power of Institute when they just got that from Sociocracy, which is basically the decision making of, putting a week and saying, hey, if we haven't heard any dissent within a week, we're moving forward assuming consent. And um, the other piece of it being like, it's okay to have a little bit of verticality. Like a little bit of verticality balances the horizontality to help things move forward. Because if it's all pure, flat, and horizontal, what ends up happening is it's hard to move because it's just so flat. But with a little bit of verticality, then it's easier to move it forward. So that being like saying, okay, at the end of the meeting, what are our next steps? Saying, okay, who's doing what? And, like just kind of pushing those things forward a little bit and getting a little bit more nailed down. And so I'm happy to write those two things down, the roles and my mini proposal that'll probably piggyback onto whatever Mescal writes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. So there's a lot there, right? So we're talking about, um, yeah, we're talking about writing up roles. I mean, I think there's this piece right here where we're talking about like starting to create and implement this decision making and operational process of, like sociocracy and proposals and roles that people can fill. Um, and then we're also talking about like meeting types and being, having kind of clear definitions for what they are. Um, yeah, and then I think in that we were talking about the onboarding process and sort of having some ideas, but I don't know that I think that like that onboarding process is like probably needs to be consolidated into like a proposal because it is
Yeah.
something that's, that's still being flushed out.
Hmm. Yeah, I actually like yeah, I like what you have. And I think she was saying that the onboarding process could be the first project that we do through this process that she was suggesting.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel good. I think it's, yeah, it's um trying to get to, like written out roles, um, which, which goes along with sociocracy, and decision-making processes. Yeah, I mean that's been something, it's been trying to, sort of implement for a while, and it's uh yeah, just one of those things, it's been a challenge to get to, or maybe it just hasn't been the right timing. So we'll see, like if this is the right timing, that would be cool. I think roles is a great way to, start to offload things and um yeah. So
Could
so
you
let's
send me can you send me the new colors that you're using for the branding for HSC?
I don't know yeah, that's another
Oh, okay, okay,
project.
okay. Okay. I thought you already, because I know you showed it to us last time. I thought you had selected it, but if you haven't, that's fine. No problem.
No, I don't know. Yeah. I just haven't, part of it is just, like I have a bunch of, client work that just, sort of landed in my plate, especially over the last couple of weeks. And it's, over the next, like I just don't know how, like I don't have very much time for HSC stuff until probably, it starts to get closer to Christmas.
Well, that's a good problem to have. I'm congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's a good problem to have enough work to be able to keep the lights on and do what
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing.
true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know. Yeah, yeah, it's true. And when it's like we live in a system where, it's certainly at this point for, for me, it's like when there's jobs that are, paying the bills, those have to take, priority now.
Yes. Yeah. Totally get it. Okay, no worries. I'm
Yeah.
clear on what to do, and I'm very grateful that we were able to have this conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time. I think this is great. I think let's talk about it. I think I'm gonna, run it by Christine, you know, see, get her input. I mean, I guess that's a question like, yeah, I mean, you're writing up some role like there's things that you're doing, right? Like that
Mhm.
you're doing and Mescal are doing, and you're starting to do those. And then those things, right, are like, initial proposals, right? And then they can be
Mhm.
taken from other people and, by into other people and then say, okay, like to make these changes or yes, it's fine, or, no, I don't consent, that kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, look, this is all great. I love it. I wish I had, like all my time to spend on this, but things come in, I get it. Things come in waves, right? They come in waves and I think that we're moving forward as a group and as a team and figuring out how to do it all. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And I'm happy to do this in December because the first half of January is probably going to be brutal for me. But in the second half, it'll hopefully calm down a bit. So this is a good wave, a good period right now for me to help out a little bit. So I'm happy to do
Very
so.
cool.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
All right,
Bye.
bye.